Oh my God, stop the presses, Chris. Do we actually have something to talk about this week? Did you get your wish? Did you actually put your thoughts out there into the ether? And did Disney listen? Or was this just a plan and from the beginning and we're just suckers for them as per usual, like we always are?
No, I'm definitely not a sucker. Those first 3 episodes were horrible. Dog shit even. Sorry.
Disagree with you about the first two,
but I have to.
But I'll give you the last one.
The thing is, it's like the show finally picked it up tonight, and I'm stoked on it. I'm not going to hold the first 3 episodes over. Like I said a million times in the first 2 episodes, and I did say it a lot, I'm going to judge it as a whole at the end, but where it stands right now, one good episode does not make up for what we sat through the first 3 episodes.
Yeah,
All good
right.
filmmaking aside. Anyways, I love this episode tonight, so we have a lot of interesting dichotomies to examine, specifically my love-hate with this show so far. But we're not alone tonight, Dom, are we?
Yeah, especially since we got like a really cool like color dynamic banner going on. I almost feel like kind of like naked
it's wild, right?
weirdly because I just got all this white around me and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's what I need right now. But you've got the red backdrop, you've got the green, you've got the purple. It's like we got like a real colorful show going on for you guys tonight. So as usual, people, latest episode of WandaVision recap on the Talkin TV channel. I myself, the movie nerd, that's the TV nerd. We are joined, of course, tonight by our 2 fabulous hosts who have both been on this channel many times before, being Matt of Basic Entertainment and Eric, whose name I just actually learned for the first time tonight, of certain vids on. What's going on, guys? Happy to have you here.
We're doing good. Thanks for having us.
Great to be on. It's going to be a lot to talk about. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So why don't we real quick go around, Dom, and ask our guests what their thoughts on the first 3 episodes were real quick.
Absolutely,
before we
guys.
dive in.
What are your thoughts on the first 3 episodes? Very, I was about to say, very different type of a question as far as that goes. But yeah, what did you guys think of how these first 3 episodes went? Just like Disney kind of like, their new plan as far as, theaters are probably never opening again. So stream, hopefully, but probably not. And, them going to streaming and, us finally getting some Marvel content for the first time in a year. And this being that first thing out of the gate and you being like, what the hell's going on here? Why are we getting like a 1950s sitcom, but like bad? And now this episode, we're finally getting into some answers. So like, what was your guys' thoughts to that? First and foremost, like once WandaVision started 2 weeks ago. Matt, we'll start with you.
Okay. So after Endgame, you kind of expect, something in that level of hype and quality and just big epic event that Endgame was, and even Far From Home, which kind of left like a impression. It was either bad or good. It left something. And going in, without a year of content of Marvel, you kind of expect something in that gratitude. But I think WandaVision is the best way to go into Phase 4 because it's different. It's unique. Yeah, sitcoms personally are not my thing, so I can just judge it for what it is. It's a sitcom. It's trying to be that. I do agree there is some, like the first 2 episodes could have used that third one. It could have used that third one in the fourth one because the fourth one really gets it going. But so far, I'm digging it because it's unique and different. It's something that the MCU desperately needed after Far From Home and Endgame. So I'm positive on it.
So we got one positive person, Eric. Haven't seen you. Haven't talked to you in a bit. It's been a while since we've seen each other. What are your thoughts? What were your thoughts again? You get out of Endgame, you get out of Far From Home. We get stuck obviously with a year of COVID, a year of no superhero content. The only thing that we really got is those 2 god awful DC drops last year with Birds of Prey and dare I say Wonder Woman 84. The sooner we forget about that one, the better. Yeah, and then this is the first thing that you see. We're getting our Disney Plus Marvel content we were supposed to get a year ago, and this is the first thing that we get. Like, what are you walk me through your thoughts on that? Kind of catch me up on your thoughts of after having watched the first 3 episodes.
I think I'm the most positive out of everyone here because I loved every episode. I think 3 was the one that was like maybe not as entertaining as the first 2 for me, but number 1 was my favorite for a long time until this week. 1 was my favorite. That was like, I think it's maybe because I just grew up on sitcoms. That was like the type of TV shows that I watched a lot. Granted, they were more so Disney Channel stuff, but it's still like similar feel. So I guess I was just accustomed to that already. So I did enjoy that. I think 2 kind of dropped down a little bit for me, 3 as well. But this week picked it back up. But I've been immensely positive. Like Matt said, I think this was the perfect way to start off Phase 4 because it's different and it's just perfect because it's like it's one of those like shows that you want to binge but you don't really want to because it has something that keeps you coming back. So I've been loving it. I've been loving it thus far.
I like that. I like that take a lot. Yeah, it's funny because I feel like one of the things that Chris and I have been talking about with our first 2 episodes, two kind of the things that we've been grappling with is the idea of kind of balancing out like which shows deserve the binge treatment versus which shows don't. You know, obviously back in 2013 when Netflix started that whole thing, you know, obviously the way to go seemed to be, just drop all the episodes at once. And then obviously with last year with COVID show, no, that's not the way to go, but we don't have to drop like 1 episode a week. We can do, you know, the boys did their first 3 episodes and then did it week to week. You know, the Mandalorian kind of brought that trend back of doing it week to week. But the problem is that they were kind of doing it around shows that didn't necessarily need the week to week format, you know, and there were certain shows that I think it personally hurt and some that it helped. Like me personally, I thought the Mandalorian season 1 did not benefit from the week to week treatment. I think that would have been better if it had been dropped all at once versus Mandalorian season 2 benefited beautifully from that, you know? Same thing kind of likewise with the boys and how that worked. And this was one of those shows that Eric, I'm actually really, really glad that you brought that up because before we dive into the recap section of this, I'm actually really glad that you brought that up because you brought up the idea that it could so easily be binged all at once, but should it? And that was something that we've kind of been bouncing back and forth on is, you know, the first 3 episodes, we don't care about what the story, we just want to get to it. But this is exactly why it needed the week-to-week treatment so that we could get an episode like this that makes the experience all well worth it. Because again, like I was saying from episode 1, we got to bide our time. Yeah, there's nothing really to talk about much in the moment, but we got to bide our time because there is going to be a twist, and this episode was finally that twist. So, Chris, unless you've got anything else to say, should we dive into the recap?
I just got one quick point to your tune there, kind of listening to our guests and, taking in what they say and factoring it into my impression of the first 3 episodes. You know, I think we are still very much so in this new age of television. A lot of people like to think we've settled in, but I think if anything, this last year sort of showed with shows like Queen's Gambit that pretty much felt like a movie that was just really hyper extended for a longer period of time than usual, that we are still very much so in this television revolution. And so I think that creators need to be as aware of the writing process, of the filming process, of the post-production process as they are now of the distribution process. I think if you look at The Boys being in the same medium, being a superhero show, how they were able to have that heightened awareness of, okay, these first 3 episodes really are like a mini arc that we know we're going to hook, line, and sinker. Like I said in this morning, guys, when we were chatting, get these people locked and loaded, chomping at the bit to watch all of the next episodes week to week. I think we sort of need to have creators be more conscious of that because I do think the show suffered by the initial 2 episodes where there wasn't really much of a hook that pulled me in. But as I kind of hear everyone's opinions, I'm kind of learning that I just think it's really the medium not being as comfortable with streaming as I thought it was.
Yeah, like I said, it's really tricky because, again, it's just a situation of where creators have needed to kind of grow and evolve with the times, and they have, but they also haven't because it shows that, not every show is going to fit into the Netflix model, but also not every show fits into the week-to-week model, you know? Like,
Right.
Look at Lost. That's the go-to example for that,
Yep.
you know, as far as just kind of the old-school model and how that may have benefited from the streaming service. But
Totally.
without further ado,
we do have a few folks watching along in the
Yes.
chat. We want to thank you guys and welcome you in. Comment along. Join the discussion as we're here tonight. Jay Manley,
do.
always hanging, always repping. Appreciate you being here, among many others. And, of course, our guest links to their content and social medias are in the description. Dom, take us into the recap, man.
let's dive into the recap section. This is episode 4 of WandaVision entitled We Interrupt This Program. Because, again, another way, and to my opinion, that Disney fucked up. They didn't tell us any of the titles of the episodes until last week. Why?
Yeah.
Like, I still don't get that. Entitled We Interrupt This Program, directed once again by Matt Shackman and written by Bobak Esfarjani and Megan McDonnell. This episode centers almost entirely around the newly revealed Captain Monica Rambeau, who we saw as Geraldine in the Westview episodes previously, portrayed by Tiana Paris. The episode opens. It shows she returned from the snap. She was a, what do they call that dumb shit in Far From Home? They called it the Blip. Once again, an example
Yeah.
of how, once again, the latest example of how the Spider-Man Marvel movies continuously fuck with the timeline and just are pop culture references. comes back from the blip, and she discovers, unfortunately, that her mother, Maria Rambeau, portrayed in Captain Marvel by Lashana Lynch, has unfortunately passed away in the 5 years that it's been since the blipped victims have been disintegrated. She returns to work at SWORD and is sent by acting director Tyler Hayward to help FBI agent Jimmy Woo, returning from Ant-Man and the Wasp, portrayed once again by Randall Park, with the missing persons case in Westview, New Jersey. There's only one problem, as the local cops tell them: there's no such place as Westview, New Jersey. So, however, they unfortunately discover a hexagonal static field surrounding the town, which Monica is pulled into. And within 24 hours, SWORD establishes a base around the town and sends drones and an agent in to investigate. The agent, who was later revealed to be the beekeeper in that episode, and one of the drones being the little sword-colored helicopter that Wanda saw in episode 2. Also, another returning familiar MCU comedy sidekick that everyone would have liked to have forgotten about, Darcy Lewis, portrayed by Kat Dennings from the first 2 Thor movies. Remember her? Nobody else did. That's fine, but that's okay because Marvel doesn't care. She's back, and she is asked to study the phenomenon and discovers broadcast signals from the sitcom WandaVision. When, again, everyone is kind of a little bit confused. You know, they're like, why is it we're getting signals watching a sitcom starring 2 Avengers? What is going on here? And they eventually begin to identify everyone else within the sitcom as being real people. But, unfortunately, near the end of the episode, it also... Sorry, one bit. Quick sidetrack. It also shows how Darcy is the one who's able to set up the radio device to allow Jimmy Woo to make contact with the episode, which also harkens back to episode 2, in which Wanda heard his voice coming out through the radio. It all culminates in the sinister moments of the last episode, where we see what Wanda did to Geraldine when Monica revealed who she was, when she sort of woke up in that episode, and of course dared to mention Ultron and Pietro. So Wanda, of course, reveals her true, hidden, potentially sinister nature, that she doesn't want anyone or anything messing with this perfect, idealistic version of this town that she has created in order to supplement her supposed decaying psyche. At least that's all up to speculation, but I think it's pretty safe to say, considering that, you know, it seems to be what the show has done. But after she casts Geraldine out, or Monica out, by literally throwing her through the walls, like Looney Tunes style, and out through the force shield that she has constructed, the illusion is temporarily broken, and she sees Vision as a zombified corpse rather than his fully wholesome body, before restoring everything and saying that everything is perfectly under control. Or is it? As we will come to find out. Guys,
I think if it was, we'll have quite a show.
Yeah, right. This episode is a lot, and again, it was the push pull that we needed. We knew that there was somebody on the outside. We knew that there was somebody monitoring. We knew that Jimmy Woo and Darcy Lewis were going to be returning MCU characters that were going to play. If I could speak. I have COVID. That's fine. I'm doing great. Don't need to worry. You guys don't need to worry about that. I'm doing just fine. Boredom's gonna kill me quicker than the COVID will. So we knew that those guys were gonna be returning characters. So this episode, I would say, was more so a kind of confirmation of certain things, as opposed to necessarily being anything new. But with that being said, I still kind of enjoy, again, it was nice that after 3 episodes in kind of imaginary sitcom land, that we're kind of back in the real world, you know. And we're also kind of getting into a facet of the MCU that I always found to be quite undervalued. Not the sidekicks per se, but just the real people, you know. To me, again, one of the things that I feel like was kind of lost, as specifically once we left phase 2, I would say it started to go away in phase 2, but it really became apparent in phase 3, was kind of, we didn't really get any more of the outside world, and kind of just the regular people, as you know, the Avengers kind of settled into their superheroics. So we got like the onslaught of new characters that we did, and new worlds and new settings in phase 3 as we were going full steam towards Infinity War and Endgame. So with that being said, kind of walk me through your guys' thoughts as to this episode overall. Chris, I kind of know your thoughts. Matt and Eric, I'm not quite, I mean, you guys have kind of given me an idea of what you guys thought, but kind of now, let's walk us through positives and negatives. What do you guys think about this episode? Don't touch that dial.
Yeah, I'm going to toss it to our guest first, Matt or Vids. Just jump in, whatever one of you guys wants to take it.
You go first,
No,
sir.
you can go. No, you can go.
Okay. Overall, this episode wasn't bad. I think that first sequence when we had the blip was awesome. I think MCU is really good at showing us, or not good, but really interesting when they're showing us just the normal people every day. And I feel like that's one of the faults when you consider something like Spider-Man. They should be doing that, but they're kind of lacking on that. So this does already a better job than those movies. But it's a nice perspective on the side characters. You know, we finally get the side characters assemble of Darcy. You got Jimmy Woo. You got Monica Rambeau. All we need is Ned and Happy in there, and it'll be complete. But it was a cool perspective episode, and I think the characters are really asking our questions. Why is sitcom? Why this? Why Hexagons? Well, is Vision dead? So it was nice because we're finally getting the questions that they're starting to answer. They're starting to ask. So I think overall, I'm okay with this episode. Am I surprised? Am I shocked? Am I, like Paul Bettany said, my mind will be blown? No, I wasn't. I'll be honest. I wasn't. It just was a nice, solid episode that doesn't blow my mind. So I call cap on Paul Bettany, trying to overhype this episode like it was gonna be the next big thing. But I'm excited where this show is going so far. So
yeah, I'm never really mad at an actor for, you know, doing good publicity work and overhyping a property like they're supposed to, because that's just their job. It's just what they get paid to do.
Right.
You know, Eric, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I do like it more, I think, because I think it lived up to the hype that Paul Bettany was saying. I thought it was pretty insane. That opening scene. I get what they were doing in Far From Home, you know, kids' perspective and all that, but that's not what we needed at that time. We needed something like this.
More serious.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the. I think it was like a one shot. It was just following Monica around. It was awesome. It was like a cool perspective in that one moment. And then after that, obviously, it was kind of like a recap. Like the whole episode was kind of like a recap of the last 3 episodes, but from the outside looking in. And I think it filled in a couple of holes that I really, or just gave me answers that I needed. But yeah, like Matt was saying, everybody's just asking the same questions we're asking. I think one of the questions that he wrote down was like, is it like the same time and space or something like that? Like how is time operating or something like that?
They even had scrolls too. I saw a board that said scrolls. Are there scrolls? So
right. And apparently some people are saying that like when they were like identifying everybody, Agnes didn't have like a driver's license or something. Like she didn't get identified. So maybe something is happening there. Maybe Mephisto is tied in. But I definitely, this is definitely hands down favorite episode of the series so far. For sure.
If I don't want to jump the gun too quickly, we'll hit that when we hit connections to the greater MCU and comic book universe. But this is even more confirmation that Agnes, if she's not Mephisto, then she is some associate with him. But just as far as kind of the sidekicks goes, and Matt, to kind of bounce off your point about the idea of kind of them, kind of the more previous MCU sidekicks, funny man sidekicks, now kind of being there to ask the questions that, we as audience members have been asking.
Right.
That I wanted to get at is kind of something that, in a way, I think that the MCU has kind of not done properly, which is kind of the idea of working in these superhero sidekicks, which is the MCU, to me, the way that they have treated these superhero sidekicks is either A, as romantic foils, or B, as comedic foils. And largely, most of the time, to me, that's where a lot of the sources of the bad comedy comes from. Like, the Jimmy Woo character from Ant-Man and the Wasp, to me, was the most unnecessary part of that entire movie. And the Darcy character, I thought she was cutesy for, like, what she needed to do in the first Thor, and then again, by the time we got to the second Thor, like, that entire movie was entirely unnecessary, and because it really didn't get it. The only purpose that movie served was furthering Thor and Loki and introducing an Infinity Stone. So much so that Endgame had to remind you, hey, this was a movie that actually happened in it. But the idea of the superhero sidekick has always been, again, they're supposed to be kind of like the people that are both there to help the superhero kind of remember their humanity, kind of get them through the whole training process in order to become that better version, acting as the foil, while also kind of, again, being the version of us that's in there. Like kind of, again, like to the point where Ned so brilliantly said in Homecoming, the guy in the chair, the guy who's there, the guy who's kind of the audience avatar, for lack of a better word. That, to me, has always been the function of the superhero sidekick. And I'm not going to say that this is the MCU kind of like trying to like piggyback off that and like kind of retroactively, we're actually doing something with these useless characters, but it definitely seems to be the case as far as just from what I'm seeing. Now, Chris, you were texting me this morning. You were like, dude, I hope you're ready. I'm like, does this mean we actually have a positive opinion on a Marvel thing for once? So, fill me in, dude.
Partly was because I knew we wouldn't really be grasping at straws too much to talk about this show.
All right.
But yes, you do have a positive opinion about Marvel, but it doesn't come without some negative, backstepping.
Of course, I would expect nothing less from you.
Because I want you to know how we got to my newfound positivity.
All right.
I confirm my theory of there being a very severe pacing issue in the first 3 episodes because of how cool, and this goes back to both a little bit of Vids and Matt's point. The characters do ask the questions that we're thinking, but we also have these really cool moments where we see Darcy looking through the television, and it's that shot at the end of episode 1 where she's panning out and she's watching her and looking like Lucy from I Love Lucy, right? And then we have that moment where Jimmy's saying, Wanda, come through, or whatever, and then the radio explodes. I thought that those moments were way more powerful having seen them in this episode, which normally when shows have relied on this and done this, I think it's a bit corny, only because of the fact that they weren't strong and they weren't as impactful as I think they maybe thought they were in those first episodes where we don't know what's going on and where we're behind all the mystery, and we still have mystery, but in regards to like the first act, which I think we're coming out of right now, I don't know, just something about those first 3 episodes. While I do still double down saying that I thought the filmmaking was brilliant, I think the phase 4 artistically is awesome so far. Like, I am all for the cinematography, the set design, but, we don't really need to, like, go too deep in that. We've beaten that horse a few times now in our first 3 episodes of the show. I do love horses. It's just a terrible expression. Anyways, so basically, I do think that it's unfortunate that now this 4th episode is what really hooked me, because I think that isn't the sign of a good show. But god damn it, am I hooked, because the MCU, as much as I love to shit on it, for lack of a better word, there is a magic there that you can't deny. You know I've come around to that last year, Dom.
Yeah. You guys should have seen it. It was amazing seeing this guy have this turnaround on the MCU, which was a franchise that he had dogged on for almost our entire friendship that we'd known each other for.
And so I want to in phase 4, because I did think the whole Thanos thing was a little cut and dry, and it was a little black and white, and there wasn't enough gray area that the DC comics give me that really is where I love my superheroes. I don't want them to be super shiny or super like dirty and gritty. I want them to be human. And I feel like starting phase 4, we're in the muck and the mire a little bit now, and I like that. But it was a rocky start. We'll get more into it. But I'm feeling positive. So overall positives, I'm feeling overall positive so far.
Yeah, and this just goes to show the power of the MCU is, again, it's the Pacino quote from Godfather 3 over every single time you think you're out, they pull you right back in. Because I told myself I was done. I was done with the MCU. I didn't give a shit anymore. My MCU that I'd known from watching that first Iron Man in theaters in 5th grade. God, I don't even want to do the math as to how young you two were at that time period when I was in 5th grade. All the way through to senior year of college to see an Endgame in theater. I was like, fuck Far From Home. That's not even a movie as far as I'm concerned. I don't even know what the hell that thing is. I'm like, that is my MCU. I'm done. And the minute I saw that WandaVision trailer, I'm like, God damn it. What the hell is it? Feige, what is it? What secret Szechuan sauce do you have that keeps making this shit like more valuable than any other goddamn thing we have? Because fuck me, for like, I'm not gonna lie, like Chris, you saw me. I was definitely more so on board with this show for the first 3 episodes than you were. Like I'm like I knew they were gonna go in for the sitcom style, but I didn't realize that just how hard they were gonna go in. And I'm like, and then when I watched those first 2 episodes, I'm like, okay, this is cute, this is kitschy, but where is this gonna go? Like I kind of figured out early on, okay, they're doing the Pleasantville thing, but they're also doing the adaptation of the Wanda twins arc, the Mephisto thing, not to step on connections to the comics a little bit too early, but I'm like, okay, that's what this is. She's clearly constructed this whole thing as a fantasy, as an ode to the sitcoms that she watched in growing up in Sokovia. And I'm like, okay, but is that going to be all this is? And then I found out they were doing 9 episodes instead of 6, and I was like, I'm not going to lie. After last episode, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. For 6 more episodes, I don't know if I can do this. But this episode, once again, was the refresher that we needed. Even though it was, to me, I gained absolutely nothing from this episode that I didn't already know from the first 3 episodes, or at least hadn't already been able to figure out on my own, and it was still satisfying. Like, the fact that the MCU could take a character like Kat Dennings, who is in contention for the most useless character in the entire MCU, and make me actually interested in her, and actually, like, make her kind of, like, snappy one-liners, like, actually kind of work, and to take Jimmy Woo, who, again, Randall Park, another guy that like tried to hop in on like the batch of, you know, late 2000s funny man actors, you know, your Seth Rogans, your James Francos, your Jonah Hills, all those guys, but he kind of came in a little bit too late. I thought he had an absolutely...
Don't you dare disrespect Asian
No,
Jim.
no, you misunderstand. I think he's extremely talented. I still think his bit when they did Asian Jim in The Office Season 9 is one of my favorite Office bits that I've ever seen. But I think he came in a little bit too late on the tail end to really get the recognition that he deserves, and as a result, he's kind of like had to keep playing second fiddle, literally to the point where, again, he gets the MCU check, and for Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's like, cool, it's a Marvel check. Ant-Man and the Wasp, again, kind of... It's weird, kind of the role that the Ant-Man movies play in the MCU, but I'm like, okay, this is what these movies are now. Great,
think about
whatever.
these two actors you're talking about, both huge sitcom stars.
Yeah, sitcom stars.
The
That's
meta
the other
here is
thing.
very real.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. Absolutely, like they know what they are doing. And I mean, Kevin Feige, again, Chris, you and I were literally talking about this the other day. Kevin Feige is a sitcom guy. You know, like he cast the what is he like? Like the older kid, like I don't from Kim's Convenience.
Yeah, he's one of the main four in
Yeah,
Kim's
from
Convenience.
Kim's Convenience, one of your favorite shows as Shang-Chi. Like, he cast Andy Dwyer from Parks and Rec as Star-Lord. Like, this guy, he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what it is. He knows exactly how to keep reeling people in and keep turning Marvel into a money-making machine. So, was I supposed to actually talk about this episode?
Well, yeah, so I actually wanted to address Jay in the chat, who asked an excellent question. Jay, stick around. We're going to save that for our theory section. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to get to once we're out of the positives and negatives. So we definitely will have to address all those little Easter egg goody things like that. So, I mean, why don't we go around now, throw it to the guests again first, get into negatives. It kind of seems like we all were a little positive there. What did you guys, if there's anything that you didn't like about the episode? We'll start with Matt.
Quickly, I just want to jump off Dom's point about leaving the MCU. I was in the same boat after Endgame and even after Far From Home, and how continuously I watched that movie and how many times I get just my rolling the eyes goes all the way back. I just was like, and then 2019 happened. You had Joker, you had Shazam. I was like, DC, they have that variety. You get rated R, you get PG-13. They have that variety where they can do anything they want and they're not scared of it. You see, same example last year, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 84. So I like that they're taking risk with their characters. And I was excited for, the Batman, the Suicide Squad, whatever. And watching the WandaVision trailer, I was like, okay, they're Kevin Feige just gets you right back in. But he's a genius, and I'll talk about him more. But I don't want to get into DC rant. But negatives overall with this episode, I didn't get too much out of it. Besides that one scene, it was the questions, the same questions I came in are the same questions I came out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not asking for questions now. It just wasn't.
Well, yeah, it's a reconfirmation episode, is what it is. It's an episode. It's literally like
it
an
confirms
episode.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and Chris, I hate to keep referencing Lost, but only because I saw this on Lost so many times, where you had that one episode where you're like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And then you had the following episode that literally just existed to show you the other side of what was happening there. You know, and
that was the thing. But let me ask you guys this, and we'll throw it back to Matt first. We're obviously going to come around in circles, Dom. Don't worry, because I do want to hear your take on this too, and Vids, for that matter. Eric, for that matter.
There we go. You're getting there. You're getting there. You're making progress.
I do agree with the confirmation aspect. There was a lot of that, especially with the characters, like you said very early on. Well put, Matt. Sort of asking the questions we've all been asking, but we have a voice in the show now. Do you feel that they offered anything, though, as well? Because I think the one thing Lost did, though, was when they confirmed something, there was always a new mystery, so much so that there were so many mysteries they never answered when the show finale happened, which a lot of fans are very upset about. But at least they always introduced something new to keep you going along. Do you feel we got that this week?
I think the setup is there. I just don't. I mean, we're kind of predicting it. Oh, it's Mephisto. It's this and that. It's setting up maybe for a predictable ending. To be honest with you. Now I'm thinking about it. It's like I after reading some comics, and I know they don't take stuff strictly from the comics, but they take loads of stuff here and there. I just feel like I kind of have an idea of what they're gonna do for this show and what they're gonna do for Doctor Strange and what they're gonna do for Spider-Man 3. An outline idea, not a complete idea, but a rough draft idea. So yeah, man, it's all set up, but I feel like it's not gonna be it's gonna be cute looking ending, action and all that. That's great, popcorn. but it's not going to be a satisfying ending because I already know what's going to happen here in January 29th, you know?
Yeah.
And that mystery box needs to lead you to a twist. Can we get a twist off this? Will Marvel do a twist?
Oh,
Who
the
knows?
infamous
Limited
JJ
series?
mystery
I don't
box
know.
and how unsatisfying it always is.
It's going to be, yeah.
The limited
yeah.
series is dangerous too. You know, there's not a second season. Anyways, Vids, man, before we get too far away from the initial negative aspect of the episode, did you have any?
Yeah, I think the one thing is that because, like, even though I appreciate this episode, it's not that much of a negative, but even though I appreciate that they placed it right, like, you know, 3 episodes in, and then you offer this little recap, I was really digging that sitcom vibe. I was really digging that. I really liked the unique style, and, you know, I was having a lot of fun with it. So part of me still wishes that they had that in, because my prediction was like they're gonna do 80s, 90s, and then like the last 3 episodes are gonna be like big action filled. But no, they just completely ruined my prediction. So I was looking forward to that, and I think they will get back to that. But it's just like a little part of me. Like, it's not a huge negative, but
I don't want to get back to that, though. I don't want to get back to the sitcom. After watching this,
Yeah, but we're going to.
There's potential.
They showed.
I'm with you, Matt.
They
That
got
first scene
many
was
more
lit,
decades. They
Turn.
got the 80s. They got the 90s.
Tom,
They got
just so
the
you know.
they got the mockumentary take the genre that they got to get to for
Oh
sitcoms.
God, yeah, they did announce all that, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
That's so
Yes,
upsetting
they did.
because Dom, just so you know, the first thing I said was, "Wow, I actually really like this," or something to that tune this morning on our first time watch along that we did on Matt's channel, because it was. You know,
was good.
more in line.
It was
It
really
was
good,
good.
yeah.
It was just good. It was more in line with what I'm used to from the MCU, but like the creativity there, like I said, the new risks they're taking in regards to, like, I hate to use the word avant-garde with the MCU, but for the MCU, I think it is a little more risque than they would normally go, and I liked it a lot, actually, especially with the tie-in. I didn't think it was corny. I thought it was, you know, the what do they call it, the blink or whatever, the blip. I thought, you know, it was
Stupid
good.
name.
So
Just call it the
that's such a
snap. It
bummer.
was cooler.
That's
Screw
such a bummer
Spider-Man
that we're
forever
gonna-
for doing that.
In that
And
blip
look,
scene, yeah.
The only way they're going to justify this is if we have like a Kramer style Seinfeld entrance when we're in that 90s episode.
I would
That's
not be
the only
opposed
way.
to that. I would not be opposed to that at all.
We haven't got to the 80s yet, right?
Yeah,
No,
because we were
next-
just
Oh,
we
fuck.
were just hitting the 70s,
70s.
like
Right.
yeah, that kind of
Brady
all in the
Bunch.
family style
Yeah.
with the last
I can't-
episode.
Yeah. After watching the 84, I can't get with the 80s at all. I need 90s
Right?
now. I need my Roseanne. I need my Mary Wood. I need that right now.
Well, that's
It's
coming.
got-
That,
that's
that,
a little
that's
bit of
definitely
it.
coming. Like that. I'm gonna be really
Yeah,
interested
I
to
need
see when
that.
they're like kind of when they're kind of showing like just how long it's been, and people will be like, "Wait, we were just watching The Office on Netflix," and they realize, "Oh, wait, The Office aired 15 years ago." Oh shit.
Yeah,
So
that's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
Anyways,
definitely.
so you know, I did kind of want to address the thing that I asked sort of Matt and Basic. You know, I was curious to see if he felt that they introduced anything new to sort of keep the mystery box going along. And while I did like the episode a lot, I do share a lot of similar sentiments with you, Matt, because the confirmation was great. We kind of have a little bit more of a feel, a little bit more of a grasp on the show. Phase 4 has more clarity now. I certainly understand the tone more, and I can actually start to really appreciate it now, although I'm never going to forgive those first 3 episodes unless this finale wows me. But I did think that they didn't do the best job in regards to, like, where's the hook for next week now? Especially because Dom just told me, which I didn't know, we're going to go right back into another sitcom, because they haven't been able to work that sitcom format outside of just paying tribute to whatever sitcom and decade they're in, delivering the mystery box each week. That was a great, you know, I'm the JJ guy, and Matt's the one who brought mystery box into the conversation, but that's so true. Like, where is it? Because we need it in this show, especially if we're going to jump right back into watching someone watch TV. You know?
And I think one thing too with the sitcom, the jokes are they're besides
sitcom
like
jokes.
but but that one joke in episode 2 was great. That one with the neighbor and does his earrings make me look fat? That was a great joke. I think that was perfect timing, all that. But they haven't touched on, like, I know the sitcoms, they have that lesson of the day. They don't have that.
Right.
They don't have, you don't walk out with anything, no heart, no real, like, oh my God, like,
We
oh,
spoke about
that's
that last
heartwarming.
week.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's actually something
it
that I
doesn't
wanted
have
to.
that.
That's
Doesn't
just
have
something
that.
that I wanted to dive into real quick, because I think that's actually that to me, from what I've seen, is a deliberate. That's not an accident. That's a deliberate choice that they've made. Which
They want
again,
the suspense.
well, no, not just that. That more so speaks to, I think, superhero content in general, not necessarily, not necessarily this show in particular, which is that I think the biggest problem and the reason why I feel like a lot of kind of people like us have taken fault with the MCU is that the MCU has done, I feel, what no other superhero property has done, which is lean into the essence of comic books, which to me, at the end of the day, superhero storytelling can have odes to real-world themes and everything, but at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be about anything if it doesn't want to. Because what I think Kevin Feige has realized with this most recent iteration, specifically with everything that happened in Phase 3 and the build-up to Thanos and everything, is that they don't necessarily have to have movies with themes or morals. They ended Phase 2 and kicked off Phase 3 with the Avengers blowing up a city, and then with them having an airport fight that had almost little to no casualties and kind of undercut the entire messages of that movie, you know? So as far as I'm concerned, they are kind of past the point of really caring whether their properties have kind of those themes, those morals, those lessons after all. And, like, take that for what you will, you know? Like, there's a reason why comic books have lasted for as long as they have. But at the same time, to me, that's also kind of a reason why I don't necessarily gravitate towards comic books as much as I used to. Because just me personally, I've grown in my tastes to kind of enjoy the stuff with those types of, again, it doesn't have to have a message or like a, you know, a moral of the day, whatever. But, like, just that it has a little bit extra something underneath, you know? And where I'll give WandaVision credit is how it's been able to use its style to pay tribute to those media formats that have come before. But this shows me more than anything else now that they're like, yeah, WandaVision is not about anything per se other than, oh, Wanda is, you know, hallucinating to the point where it's starting to affect other people, you know? But it's not about anything. And, like, Falcon and Winter Soldier is not going to be about anything, and Loki is not going to be about anything, and What If is not going to be about anything, and that's kind of just, like, what they're leaning into now. Again, it's not bad, because it's Marvel, and people are going to watch it no matter what we say or what anybody else says, but I think that is where the disconnect comes from, especially when it's riding off the coattails of two gigantic properties, The Boys and Watchmen, that are all about making statements on superheroes' stance in society and pop culture.
So that's what you mean by about. Because I think it's obviously they're all going to serve the greater narrative of Phase 4.
Right.
Which, you know,
but that's all they're going to do.
I don't know if you necessarily need to always make a political statement, though.
I agree. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying a political statement. I'm just saying like a theme, a message,
a philosophical statement.
Exactly.
I also don't think, you know what I think that is, to be honest with you? I think that's the Hollywood establishment sort of prodding and poking us as if we're cattle and getting us accustomed to something that they want to sell us. I don't think necessarily you need that to be good, but I do think that we can kind of see with at least the first 3 episodes of WandaVision, because I do think the 4th was an improvement, that without that and without the mystery box, it was a little thin, you know? Yeah. So I think like these writers have been so trained in the system that it's tough for them to, when they try to do it without it, you can see something's lost. I'll give you that for sure.
Like, the only thing that's getting you through those first 3 episodes is the underlying mystery of what's going to happen. And now that we know, again, the only thing left that we need to find out is why has Wanda done this? We know the how, we know the who, we know the what, and we know the where. We just need to know the why. We need to know why Wanda is doing this. And that's the only thing to me left that's going to get us through these next 5 episodes. And I'm not going to lie, diving back into sitcom land does not bode well for me at all. Because like I said, the first 3 episodes, it was cute, it was kitschy, it gave me kind of a little bit of a throwback to, you know, watching those old kind of sitcoms that my grandparents grew up with, you know. But now that we're going to start to get into the sitcoms that I know, and again, like, Matt, I'm with you as far as that goes. I'm not a sitcom guy overall. Like, I watched all of them growing up, but there's a reason why I can never stick with them. They're repetitive. The jokes are usually only half funny to me, and even the revolutionary ones to me. Like, there's a reason why Community is my favorite sitcom, because it's the anti-sitcom. It's the sitcom that makes fun of sitcoms. So yeah, that's kind of like my stance on that. So yeah. With that being said,
jump off that point, Vids or Matt, any sort of last thoughts on that segment before we jump to another segment of the show?
You know, got one Vids? No. No, just man. If anything, episode 5 is gonna suck, because episode 4, you know, throwing the alley oop, is he gonna slam it? You know, is gonna just bobble it? What's gonna happen? It's gonna be a lot like do I compare it to I forgot what show it was. Maybe Mandalorian. It had like a great episode, and the next episode was just kind of a stinker.
Oh yeah, Mandalorian season 1, awesome 3rd episode, and then 4 through 6.
Yeah, there you go. It's because that episode was so good. It built up so much. It's continuing that story. I feel like that's gonna probably be the deal with episode 5.
Yeah.
You know, they gotta. I think
It's definitely
episode
interesting
6,
to see like where they're going. Just to,
Right.
now that this is what the 3rd season of a major Disney Plus show that we've watched after the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, kind of how the Disney Plus model of storytelling is going, and definitely how as we're gonna have to continue to cover this stuff for sheer fact of getting views on our channels, like how that's gonna affect us going forward and kind of our enjoyment of this content, especially because we're people who again are not gonna kiss up to them just for free screeners. We're gonna give them our honest thoughts. So
right.
With that being said, Chris, unless you have anything else, you want to jump into MVP?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so Matt, wow, I just did that. Matt, Eric, just so you guys know,
Chris.
that's Chris. I promise, I'm at 100% brain capacity, lungs maybe not so much, but how this section works is every week we crown an MVP of the episode. So this could be any element, so this could be a character, an actor, the director of the episode, it could just be an element of the episode that you thought was pretty cool, and we basically crown that as the MVP of the episode.
Like, for example, one time I literally picked like the set design because it was so dope.
Yeah.
I forget what that was, but like
Exactly.
yeah, so
I was already going to reference my MVP from last week, except for one problem. I can't remember it. So I'm just going to say my MVP for this week is Kevin Feige. I mean, just, again, for having an episode that, once again, completely revitalizes our thoughts on what the show was and where it's going, and to continue to sucker us in with these really interesting story beats and twists. And, again, to have an episode that is entirely set around the sitcom characters within a riff on sitcoms and still have me give a shit and interested. Props go to him for managing to oversee this. It may have been the individual creators, but he's the one that picked them, and he's the one that had the ideas for the overall story beats. And again, for him to come up with an entire property around Wanda and the Vision, the 2 characters that arguably had the least to do in the MCU beforehand, and literally make a show about them being ode to sitcoms, like, props to him. The man is truly unstoppable at this point.
yeah, I feel that. I guess I'll just jump in here next. For me, I'm gonna give it to Kat Dennings, man. I like Darcy, and it's been so long since she's played that character, and if you go back and compare it, I mean, she felt like good old Darcy. The Thorverse is a side of the MCU that I wouldn't say I'm forgiving to. I just think like a lot of people just don't get it quite like I do. And so she added so much because people play the quirky character. People can do that type of role, but her doing it's different to me. I don't know why. I find a charm in her character. And I think
it's the voice, I think.
The voice that certainly works with like the sort of like, I don't know, why don't you tell me? I'm still trying to figure it out just like you. Like that sort of, it's fun, she brings some like life to it. And I think maybe that's why I'm a little forgiving as well to the fact that like Confirmation episode didn't quite get much new aside from an old face returning, but it was so pleasant that I gotta give it to her.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It also helps that she's got the Alison Brie kind of like person who is dressing conservatively as the nerd, but also is freaking gorgeous in real life. That certainly helps.
Sure, yeah, that helps, of course.
That definitely
but I was
helps.
trying to take it more from like a film critique or stance. But that factors in clearly.
Hey man, dude.
Yeah, so.
Beauty is a part of the filmmaking process. That is absolutely a part. I was just rewatching Mank the other night, so.
The filmmaking process is beauty if done right. So, yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah, Kat Dennings for me. We'll jump to Matt next, and then we'll go to certain vids. Matt, what's your MVP, man?
I was going to go Feige, but I think there's a problem with, I keep on saying it, there's a problem when it comes to the structure of like putting out these episodes has been a problem. First 3 episodes shouldn't have came out like the boys did, and then episode 4, goes along. But I'm going to give it to the director, what's his name?
Matt Shakman. Yes.
Shakman. I'm going to give it to him because that first opening scene with the reverse blip, kind of like it's like a snap scene, but it was reversed to the blip. It was great. It was great. It was a one shot, like CERN said, introducing Monica Rambeau. I'm already liking Monica Rambeau. I'm still kind of confused where Sword is placed in this universe. I still need to go ahead and rewatch that, but I don't think they really explain it too much. Like I'm still thinking is Nick Fury connected to this, or is I'm still thinking about that. But yeah, I'm gonna give it to him. And he also made these side characters feel more, give them actually stuff to do. Randall Park came in, he did a little magic trick. You know, he was cool. Instead of being that, you know, forgettable side character who just cracking lame jokes, I just give it to Max Shackman, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Props. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, directed to me the most underrated episode ever of Game of Thrones, that being the Spoils of War with the surprise dragon Dothraki attack at the end.
Hell
versus the
yeah.
Lannisters. He
So
directed
underrated.
that episode. And also, the guy has been like the prime director for the last like 8 or 9 seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Friggin' pro.
And can I just say
pro.
that aspect ratio change where we go from the traditional sitcom of the 70s aspect ratio to Wanda when she just jettisons Gwen out of the building, out of the realm, or whatever you want to call it, the multiverse. That was such brilliant filmmaking. Like, I could not believe it was Marvel. So
We've had that quite a bit, have we not? In this episode.
yeah, so
The aspect ratio
lot of
changed.
aspect
Yeah.
ratio
exactly.
changes.
Yeah.
So many,
Yeah.
but that one specifically really. But Vids, man, take it away. Oh, sorry, Matt. Yeah, finish it up, right?
Yeah, I was gonna give one more, prop to him. Dead Vision was scary.
Yo, yes.
That was actually.
Yes.
I'm not gonna
Not
lie.
expecting
creepy.
that. That threw me. That threw me. Like
Yeah.
every time you can throw in like a quick
That
insert
cut.
to like a dead guy, it's like whoa. It's like
then
that's
boom,
it's straight up
it's-
Romeroing.
It's back to Vision, normal Vision.
Yes.
It's like, and then
Yeah.
that was
And
great.
then, again, it makes you even more worrisome. It's like, oh, how did she bring him back? Is he back? You know, like because like that's Darcy's first reaction is like, nah, he wasn't Blip. He's dead. You know?
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, Vids,
Right.
man. Eric, what's your MVP?
Just continuing off of that, especially like building towards like what Wanda did. Like initially when we see that, it's like a cut, like in episode 3 when Vision just went back. It was like that. It just cut to credits, and it was like what happened there, and then they were like building towards that reveal.
Yeah. And you
I thought
saw her
that
like
was really cool.
jettisoned out of the shield and the cars driving.
Exactly.
But yeah.
I'll give it to it's weird because she's not in the episode that much, but I'll give it to Wanda because I learned a lot about her, and I feel like I know what they're doing with her now, and I feel like I've got a good idea on like who she is now. Like she was barely in the episode, but like the moments that she was there for, I think they were used perfectly, and I think I have a reasonable doubt to believe what they're doing with their characters. So I'll give it to Wanda.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too is just how that connects to the last episode. Is the interesting thing about the end of the last episode is that you have to assume that the whole thing is that when Monica is first drawn into the shield, right, she's brainwashed like everybody else is in Wanda's reality. But the funny thing about that, like when Wanda ejects her from there, is that Maria didn't remember really and didn't really realize anything until Wanda started singing the song in Sokovian, and that's when she dropped the Ultron and Pietro references. So like again, it shows that like and Wanda said at the end, I've got everything under control, which again, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that whenever a character says one thing that they are absolutely sure of in a property, the opposite is almost always a certainty. So it makes me wonder, is Wanda, again, it makes you wonder, is Wanda totally in control here? And if she is, that's fucking horrifying. And if she isn't, oh God, cue the Mephisto / Agnes comic book connections, which I feel like acts as a perfect segue overall into the final segment of the shows that we always like to talk about, the connections to both the greater MCU and the greater comic book lore that this shit is based on. So, like we said, this episode saw not one, but 2 official returns from the greater MCU, that of course being Kat Dennings, Darcy Lewis, and Randall Park's Jimmy Woo, who previously had not been seen since 2013's Thor the Dark World and 2018's Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, I don't know too much about these characters, but I do know that the Jimmy Woo character is a slight change because I know he's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in the comics, and they switched him to a FBI agent, obviously for the purposes of the show. But the other cool thing that I thought with them bringing Darcy in is not only because we know for a fact that they've said that, again, we know it's been beaten into our heads, this is going to connect to Doctor Strange and the multiverse, and this is going to connect to Spider-Man, and this is going to connect to Loki, and you have to assume any other properties that are going to be tackling the multiverse. But there are 2 connections to me that are kind of underrated. First off, the connection to Thor, Love and Thunder, and the fact that, if Darcy's back, that signipies, again, Darcy was always working with Jane, so that's going to connect to, Natalie Portman making her long-awaited MCU return in the upcoming Thor, Love and Thunder. But also, again, the thing that I feel like nobody has talked about with those greater connections, which is, again, Maria Rambeau. or Monica Rambeau in this case, again, who we hadn't seen her since she was a 10-year-old girl in Captain Marvel, the daughter of Maria Rambeau in that movie, and now we see her as an adult. She is an agent of S.W.O.R.D, overall kind of continuing in her mother's legacy, as they did state that her mother helped co-found S.W.O.R.D the same way that kind of Howard Stark and Peggy Carter co-founded S.H.I.E.L.D. in the origin days of the MCU. It's the cool thing that I like about the MCU is that the MCU, in not being a direct adaptation of the comics, but in taking these bits and pieces from the comics in order to kind of establish and build their own mythos, you know? That, to me, is the power that this franchise has that really sets it apart from a lot of the other superhero franchises, you know? Besides the fact that just... It's really funny because I just showed my brother the first 2 Terminator movies over the last couple of nights. Fucking awesome movies. And then I went on to explain to him that there were 4 sequels made after Terminator 2, none of which James Cameron was involved with, and all of which proceeded to fuck up the timeline and make no sense in the overall continuity, and how it reminded me of the X-Men franchise. And just, you know, the care and love that Fox did when it came to royally just bending the continuity over and showing it the 50 states when it came to just overall continuity in that franchise. It just shows that, like, yeah, the MCU is still absolutely revolutionary when it comes to superhero continuity within their own franchise. The Spider-Man movies holding, but again, I blame that on Sony. I'm sorry, like 8 years between after the first Avengers would put us now, not when Homecoming took place. But with that being said, another big thing that, to me, again, this episode was confirming even more of, besides obviously, you know, further getting into S.W.O.R.D and further, you know, bringing back these, you know, previously, you know, sidekick, you know, comic relief characters, is they're hinting even more and more at Wanda having had a full break from reality, which is stuff that I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. Again, like the biggest thing kind of about the Scarlet Witch and her personality within the comics is that kind of the character... They have not really necessarily known what to do with as far as her character, so their kind of linchpin with her has been, oh, she's going to be the character that we use to kind of reset everything, you know? Because eventually comics get to a point where there is just so many comics and so many stories and so many characters and so many storylines that it just starts to become really confusing.
And then Deadpool has to come in and kill everyone.
Exactly. So they have to have their big universe resetting moment. Comics are known to do this. They do this about every 4 to 5 years. I think they've done it literally within the last 2 years with DC. But...
Rebirth, and now
DC is notorious for that.
Very, very notorious. And so
Rebirth, there was, I forget.
Comics have been doing that for comics have been doing that for a while. So the point being is that Wanda has kind of become the Marvel's character that they've used that again with the Avengers Disassembled storyline and with the House of M storyline and all of that different stuff.
Side note, feels like a waste of Elizabeth Olsen's talent, which is why I'm really glad we're finally at least getting this series where we get to see her really come into the role.
And that's where, and that's where I'm getting at, is that this is finally where not only are we getting to see the character of Wanda shine, but we're getting to see Elizabeth Olsen really shine too as an actress, because again, in that one scene, however many minutes long it was, where she all of a sudden wakes up and becomes hostile towards Monica, I'm like, there was a menace that I had not seen from her in any of her previous disappear. I'm like, okay, gone is like the little girl, like kind of precocious one. I'm like, this is the motherfucking Scarlet Witch. This is the Scarlet Witch that dissolved the Avengers with a thought. This is the Scarlet Witch that bargained with Mephisto in order to get 2 kids, and then that turned out to be complete hallucinations, and then had a mental breakdown that fractured reality as a result of it. This is the Scarlet Witch that friggin' like tossed Vision into the ground or whatever in Civil War. You know, this is her. So like, kind of, what are your guys' thoughts on that overall? Like, kind of like, were you familiar kind of with her like impact that she had in the comics before this? Like, did you have like walk me through this with you guys?
Her impact is obviously stamped on Marvel. I mean, you got one of the biggest comic scenes in House of M, no more mutants, you know, boom, no more mutants. Like she is a reality bending type character, and I think now they're understanding that. I think now because they have the time to do it, because you know, setting up Infinity Stones, you can't really where can you place that? But you know, like I said, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany have been, especially Paul, I think he's been the best when it comes to acting. I feel like they're really acting now. You know what I'm saying? Instead of delivering generic lines, they're really trying to sitcom. They're trying to act cheesy. They're trying to act quirky. That's fine, you know. But at least they're trying. But yeah, is that for like Wanda? Like my take on Wanda.
Yeah, Vids. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this has been my favorite version of Vision. This has been my favorite version of probably Wanda too. That'll probably get solidified in future episodes. But I think they've done a great job of taking these characters and just like putting them front and center. Like this entire show pretty much is just side characters. Like even Wanda and Vision are both side characters. So it's like you put them in the forefront, and it's working. It's really working. I'm really liking these characters now. I think Vision. I think these 4 episodes so far, the first 2 were like showing you Vision and like his potential, because I think he was hilarious in the first 2 episodes, and then these last 2, I think the last episode was very Wanda centered. This one kind of more so Wanda centered than Vision. So I'm liking where they're going. I'm really on board with these characters now.
And I see the potential of Wanda, even dating back to Age of Ultron. I saw there's some things in there that they can explore, right? But dude, I can't fucking stand Vision. Like for some reason, I just couldn't get over the fact that in Age of Ultron, he was so epic, so grand, so grabbing Thor's hammer, doing some great stuff. I'm like, yes, this is what the Avengers needed. They needed that extra powerhouse. And then Infinity War, he was a leech, holding back Wanda. They got to give him some stupid thing, gain stab, mid transformation, wasted there. He was a lovey-dovey in Civil War, was making dumb moves, acting like a saint with Wanda. Like I just didn't overall care for Vision. And now him playing that humorous role, there's too many humorous characters in the MCU, and you're just adding on to that, which is fine because he's
like,
actually
whose line is it anyway? Superhero edition.
It's like that MCU in a nutshell. MCU in a nutshell. It's a passing of the hot potato of who gets the snappy one-liner of the moment.
And he's great at doing that, but is that all he has to offer? Like, I'm cool with Vision. Absolutely, I'm done with fucking Vision. I don't care about Vision at all.
Yeah,
I think everyone's hitting the nail on the head tonight, and so I have 2 things I kind of want to speak to everyone's points real quick. First of all, I think that if we look at it as far as who these characters are, DC, the company that's been around first, for every character that Marvel has, most of the time it's a reaction to an already existing DC character. Yeah. And I know that Vertigo isn't quite falling under the umbrella of DC because it was made a little differently, but DC does own them. And so I'm just going to go ahead and claim Manhattan, especially now with the merger, being a DC character. And so the Vision is clearly, and Wanda are clearly like the 1-2 punch answer to Dr. Manhattan. And they've been so underutilized, whereas, having them and Thanos in the same, 3-movie phase, that it could have been so much more. Yeah. So on one side of the coin, I'm like, yes, we're finally getting these amazingly, like you said, Matt, she snaps and mutants are gone. We're finally getting the Manhattan of this universe and seeing them sort of have to fight their way out and show their awesomeness. I'm sure is going to happen at the end of the season. But to that tune, is Vision dead? More than likely. And, what are they really going to do with Wanda going forward? Is this her magnum opus for all that we know? It could be. And that's upsetting because if this is how they go down, while this show does sort of raise them up a bar, they were never really that high to begin with. And it's unfortunate because I feel like we're just starting to see them hit their stride. And by the time because it's just a limited series, this limited series is over, then that's it. Then they're back to being side characters, if not even alive. So
exactly.
It's a little upsetting.
Yeah, I don't think Wanda's gonna be a side character though. I think they're really gonna push her in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, there's a reason why she's gonna be like.
She's gonna be in there for a reason.
I could see her being, if not the villain, because here's the thing that they've hinted at. Because the other thing that I've heard is that. Obviously, again, the leading theory is that Catherine Hahn's character Agnes is actually Agatha. What's the character's
Harkness.
name? Agatha Harkness. That's right. Who is an ally of Mephisto and is Doctor Strange's sidekick. But the other thing that I heard is that she could also be Nightmare, who I know was another villain that they were heavily hinting at as far as Doctor Strange. So my thought was, since obviously we know that Elizabeth Olsen will be in Doctor Strange 2, that Catherine Hahn, whatever villain she ends up being, her kind of character is, to me, in some way still feeding off of Wanda, and as a result will cause her to still become the villain. Like, I'm fully convinced that Wanda is the villain, or one of the villains for Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I'd really like to see that.
Now, with that being said, there were two things that I wanted to bring up before we got out of here, which is one,
And we
obviously.
gotta hit the chat
Yeah,
questions
well,
as well.
that was actually the first one. I wanted to answer Jay's question, which is who is the missing witness that Jimmy Woo was talking about in our theory? So let's throw it around to you guys first. Who do you guys think the missing agent for Jimmy Woo is?
Bucky? No.
Now he's got his own show coming up.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really put too much thought into that. Missing person. I don't.
So
yeah.
remind me again, which part are we talking about?
So at the beginning of the episode when Monica first arrives at Westview, Jimmy says that he was following up on a missing witness case.
Okay.
And then they do the whole thing with the cops. They're like, "Oh, Westview doesn't exist," and then he shows her the shield and everything. So yeah, trying to figure out who that person is. I'm assuming that it's one of the people in there, to say the least. But my wonder is, do you guys think it's an MCU character that we already know, or do you think it's going to be a new character that's going to hint at something? Or it could just be a red herring. It could be a completely red herring just to, get the plot going and it could have been just a plot device to get Monica to that point.
I think
So what I will say to that is, yeah, exactly. I'm with you guys because that moment was, they really played that up. And it was in such a lull of the episode, still the setup. We come off that intense opening sequence, and then we're finally in some calm, and that's like the big takeaway of note. It's going to come back into the fold later on in the season. To say who that is right now, though, to kind of go back to like what we all kind of said about this episode, we got a lot of confirmation, and I think we all came out understanding the tone a little better, but there wasn't many answers, and there also wasn't any new mysteries to really dig into, so I can't say, other than the fact that I do think it's a red herring, who it is in specific. You know what I mean? It was a little vague, but they made a big deal out of it. At least to me, it felt like they made a big deal out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since we've been hearing rumors about other big name MCU characters, and they hinted that there was going to be one big major cameo near the end of the show. Whether that is Doctor Strange, whether it's Ultron, whether it's one of the two Quicksilvers, we don't know. But that did bring up my last question, which I think you guys will be able to answer, which is that I've been hearing a lot of speculation on the internet as to this point. Obviously, now that we know that Marvel owns Fox and everything, and we know that the X-Men are going to be coming in at certain points, do you think that this will affect Wanda, and you think they're going to try to retcon kind of the idea of, since we know that she'll obviously end up playing a big part in whatever, turn the multiverse takes as far as that goes, and we know obviously that in Spider-Man we're going to see other iterations of the character that existed under different studios, when different studios control the characters. Do you think that this is going to be the way in which they bring in the mutants, or no, you think they're going to bring them in some other way?
This is the way.
I think this is the way. But I always like to
nice, good cross promotion right there.
That's Disney. But I think I always like the theory that like mutants were always around, but they always stayed quiet. I always like that theory, but I don't know how can you, like, they're gonna break it open with Wanda. I can see that. That'll be a cool flip from no more mutants to let there be mutants. So all of
a sudden people kind of, it's like
opening it up
where people just start developing superpowers out of nowhere.
We need like a gritty sci-fi show that's like The Magicians. You guys watch that very shitty show where it's like these young like
gritty, and I'm like, what, The Magicians? That's not the show I was thinking of.
Take the PG out of it, but have like these like kids who see the underside of society, and they hide the fact that they're like walking among us, but they go to like these abandoned warehouses and like they conduct their like, it's like they're very much so in the shadows of the city. We need something like that. With
So the
mutants
Runaways.
to introduce them, and then they slowly, but like good, like I didn't
The
want to.
Runaways wasn't good. I didn't watch that.
So I couldn't get past episode 1, dude.
That's so disappointing.
Corny of corny.
That's
like
so disappointing.
That, but with like Beast and with like all these characters that we fucking think are awesome and dope, and like Wanda at the end reveal her, and like then it's like, oh shit, like cool. Season 1 was dope, and now we're actually getting into it in season 2. Like we need something that like they don't quite say the F word, but maybe they'll be like, damn, or something. Like we need grit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
You want to go, sir?
I think this might be the way that they bring him. Well, I don't know. It's kind of a loaded question. I think it's 50-50, to be honest. I think it's they could go the route of like, flipping House of, I don't know what that was. They could go the route of like flipping House of M, but it's I think it's more likely that like maybe Doctor Strange is more responsible for mutants, and like this just ties in directly to that. So
How would you do that though? Bring in
I
Doctor
don't-
Strange.
I don't
I don't want multiverse. Oh, there's a different multiverse where mutants are. I want them to be established in this world already. You know what I'm saying?
right.
I think it could be a situation where, again, like I have a definitive feeling as to how this is going to tie into Doctor Strange, that whatever ends up happening at the end of this series ends up blowing up so big that obviously it's much bigger than like the regular humans can control, and that's when we're going to call in, you know, the super people, and that's when Doctor Strange is going to get involved. Yeah, because that's the whole thing, right? About Strange is that Strange is
the
as
ultimate
pretentious
fixer.
as he is. But he's at the level above the superheroes. Like that's the one to me was the one takeaway from the first Doctor Strange, which is famously an MCU movie that I am not the biggest fan of, is the fact that the sorcerers do not concern themselves unless it's stuff that's like above kind of the like they protect reality itself,
the
not
Avengers
which
pay grade.
right. They're way above the Avengers pay grade. That's the only reason why Strange got involved in the Infinity War nonsense, was because Thanos was after, you know, one of the Infinity Stones, which affects all of reality. So that
Can I just
to me,
say one final thing though before we kind of wrap it up, because you guys have all kind of helped me figure out what I would want out of Phase 4, and I think what I want is them to utilize the television format, because I really want a soft you can never restart. The effects of the blip will always be there, as we've seen with this episode, and of course with the characters that we will no longer be seeing throughout the course of Phase 4. But I really think they have a chance to sort of use what I love about storytelling, which is patience, and build up slowly back into the intensity that was Endgame, but with a whole new feel, a whole new taste. Especially with the acquisition of the X-Men, especially with the new format of Disney Plus, movies going to streaming, series getting made that enhance the, you know, that are almost movies in and of themselves, aka WandaVision, which we're in right now, which was bold to launch Phase 4 with. Whatever they do, I just want it to be, I want to take my time with it, because I think like we keep talking about Wanda and all these characters and what are they going to do and what are they going to do. And I think the best way to service these characters and not lose some of the magic of Wanda and Vision, like I think we did in the previous phase, is to just take your time with it. You got us now. Like the butts are in seats now. So relax.
The train is out of the station.
Storytelling up.
And well, the one thing I could definitely say is they're definitely going to do that. Like Feige's already said that like they're not going to build to the bit. Like he said, there will be a big bad and there will be another Avengers, but not in the way that we know, and it won't be for a while. Like not until like we're out of Phase 5. Like he just announced that like all of the movies that and the TV shows, like the 20,000 movies and TV shows just for Marvel that they announced at the Disney Investor Day, that's all just Phase 4. Like there is still no plans for X-Men. Like we got to get through. Count it down with me. Just movies. We got to get through Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2, Captain Marvel 2, Black Panther 2, Guardians 3,
Blade.
Thor Love and Thunder, Blade, Fantastic Four. And that's just the movies.
Yeah.
TV shows. We got Falcon and Winter Soldier. We got
Miss
Loki.
Marvel,
we got
Hawkeye.
What If, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, friggin'
What If?
Armor Wars, Secret Invasion, fucking the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, because we're getting the fucking Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. That's how we got.
I am Groot. I am Groot.
There you go. There you go. I am Groot. We got all that shit to get through before we even start to think about the net. And we know for a fact that X-Men is coming. We know for a fact Young Avengers is happening. We know that, I forgot Ant-Man 3, and we know that Kang the Conqueror is going to be coming up in Ant-Man 3. So they got time overall, and we got some time as far as to what it's building to.
Yeah.
But
going for that big bad, that's Doctor Doom. I don't care.
I'm between
It's gonna be Doctor Doom.
For me, it's only one of two, right? It's only going to be either Doctor Doom or Galactus as far as who it could be. I feel like those are really the only two left besides Thanos that could like pose that like a Thanos level threat again. So I'm not going to disagree with you. But that being said, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, do you think only because we know Fantastic Four, it will most likely end up being the last one? Because, like I said, that's a big Fox acquisition, so that they're going to take their time with that. Like, I think that one doesn't have a release yet. I'm still not the.
We
not
also
super
forgot
happy
Deadpool, by the way.
that too. Yeah. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the biggest fan of the fact that the Spider-Man director is doing Fantastic Four, because I don't think that guy's that good of a director. But whatever. Do you guys think it would be like un-Marvel like if they ended up shooting themselves in the foot and doing what each of the previous Fox Fantastic Four movies fucked up with, and bring in Doctor Doom in that Fantastic Four movie.
Oh fuck! I'm guaranteed right now, Mole Man is the villain for Fantastic Four. I think
Okay.
Kevin Feige is gonna give all the fucking love he can do for Fantastic Four,
And he'll redeem Paul Giamatti after Paul Giamatti was bent over a barrel and showed the 50 states in that Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie with Rhino.
right?
Damn, twice in
As
one's
the
live
Mole Man.
stream. That's you went for it.
And I think too, just by the logo itself, Fantastic Four, it's already better than what we got from the previous movies.
Fingers
So
crossed.
I'm dead on with
Josh
Fantastic
Trank
Four.
knocked that film out of the park. Don't at me.
Yeah, and more like
I did actually enjoy it a bit, but like I
holy
understand.
fuck.
why.
yeah,
that
enjoyed
movie-
making fun of it. Shut up! Don't you dare! Don't you dare
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah. Oh man, there was one other thing. Oh man, just gave me so many thoughts about like the Ultimate X-Men comics and like, cause that is my shit. The Ultimate X-Men comic books. What's it called?
Unboxing. What's going on,
What's
man?
going on, dude? Glad that you could replace Ken from Mid-Level Media as being the guy that jumps in literally 5 minutes before we're about to end the show. But thanks for showing up, anyways. Thanks
Always
for showing support overall. So with that being said, guys, that was our latest recap of episode 4 of WandaVision. Eric, Matt, thank you guys so much for being here. This was awesome. I don't know, Matt, Chris, I think you can agree with me. We both had a lot more fun than we did last week. No disrespect to John at all, but last week was just kind of a weird kind of, not a great headspace moment for both of us. So thank you guys for being here with us. Thank you guys for helping us. We had a lot of fun kind of getting back to the root of what it is that makes this stuff so much fun to talk about, in addition to being like the most watched stuff just in general. So before we get out of here, again, tell the good people in the comment section and on the internet where they can find you guys. I'll be the executive decision. Eric, you go first this time.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun. I love talking WandaVision. You can find me on YouTube at certain vids, and all my socials are certain vids as well. I believe Chris said everything is linked in the description. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Matt, where can the good people find you?
Man, thank you for Chris. Thank you for Don's Chris coming through for the watch on. That was fun. Don, we probably got to get you in the next one. That was great. This was great. Shout out to CERN. You guys can follow me on Basic Entertainment. Link in the description below, of course, that great Chris will provide. And our Basic Entertain Instagram page where I post news and reviews and stuff like that. So shout out to these guys. This was great. I had a lot of great time and great discussion.
The great Chris, Dom. You got to start calling me that. I like that a
Great,
lot.
Chris.
Thank you.
I see.
I appreciate
Joe
that.
trying to flex. All right, trying to show me who's boss. I see how it is.
Oh,
You're gonna get these
man.
guys to kiss up to you, not me. I'm your
and,
equal, motherfucker.
Just so, since some chat is starting to pour in now, thank you guys so much for coming. It's never too late here. We always appreciate the support. And also, going to ask them on the live stream, no pressure or anything, but we'd love for you guys to join us on the finale
Yes.
as well.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
going to be doing like a
Absolutely.
2-hour
For sure.
panel. Be awesome. There's going to be a lot of
9
content creators.
people.
There's gonna be a lot of talk. I think more than Mandalorian, to be honest with you.
Yeah, hopefully. I was about to say,
Yeah,
hopefully,
definitely.
all I'm gonna say is everyone better be able to keep up with me as far as talking. So, because like I said,
Yeah.
like I said, I got COVID and I'm more energetic than
Ever.
everyone still. So, yeah.
So, Dom, speaking of keeping up with you, where can the people follow everything it is we do here on the interwebs?
Well, guys, see, we have this channel right here. It's awesome. It's called Talkin TV. I just checked, Chris. We just got like 3 subscribers, like yesterday. I don't know how. We're up to 227. I have no idea how. But look, we got
Thank you.
so much content coming your guys' way. We can't even plan for it. We're done with January right now. We got WandaVision recaps going all throughout February. We've got podcast episodes for you guys. Chris, we're going to get some new movies. We're finally going to get some new movies to talk about that you're actually going to be able to watch. That'll be
Yeah,
going in
thank God.
Netflix and HBO Max. Thank fucking God, as far as I'm concerned. We'll be coming back on Monday in order to give you guys kind of some of the stuff that we're looking forward to for the rest of 2021. Fingers crossed that it actually comes out, because the stuff has already been delayed. Morbius and Uncharted have already been delayed to next year. Morbius, I hope never
know.
comes out, but especially because, unfortunately, after I'm done with this, I have to go and watch another new movie with Jared Leto. Ugh! Can he just stop acting, please? But
For real, though,
For
I'm a huge
real.
30
I
Seconds
am
to Mars fan. That man is
Beyonce.
legitimately phenomenal and groundbreaking. They literally changed pop music in the early 2010s, and he doesn't understand that's his best artistic contribution.
he
It's
needs
like,
to
bro,
go away. He
do
is
his
the
bandmates even like him at this point? Like,
he
he's
is
fucking
the
them over
he is
too.
the epitome.
You know what I mean? Like-
he is the epitome
So-
of the pretentious Hollywood actor that thinks he's God's gift to man. That
Yeah.
he is that guy, and it needs to stop, and he needs to go away. And
Put
yeah,
that on tour, dude. That's what you're best at.
it's really, really depressing, because he
does
has
get
given us
better,
some
Dom.
legitimately good performances. But thank you, Jay. Don't worry. Like I said, trust trust me, I know it's been affecting a lot of people worse than me. So, but thank you anyway. So, with that being said, again, we put up new content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Again, this coming Wednesday, guys, it's finally happening. It is finally happening. So be ready for that. Chris's reaction and first time viewing of Tenet. It's finally here on Wednesday. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. It's gonna be a blast. I cannot
took the L for you guys.
wait.
I didn't watch it. I couldn't even talk about it in our top 10 of 2020 because I wanted everyone to see my first time reaction to this. Not being the biggest Chris Nolan fan, but going into it with an open mind. It's gonna make for a good video.
It's gonna be
Cannot wait for y'all to see it.
Absolute blast. We cannot wait for you guys to watch it. If it's anything like the first time that I saw this movie, but I'll put this in perspective. Anybody that complained about Inception being complicated, you guys ain't seen shit yet.
My God.
And when I went back to read, not even rewatch, when I went back to reread the plot summary of the movie on Wikipedia, I already felt myself getting a headache just trying to figure it out while I'm trying to read it. So yeah, that should give you guys everything that you need to know as far as Wednesday's video. Again, if you want to know what it is that we're doing online, then you can click the subscribe button on this channel. It'd be incredible. It'd be a great way for you to support us. And again, click the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you guys get notified every time we put up new content. Leave a comment on this video like the chat has been doing so graciously overall tonight. Make sure you click the like button, click the thumbs up button. It just helps us overall with the YouTube algorithms. And of course, if you follow us on our socials on Instagram and Facebook at Talkin TV or at Talkin TV Podcast, no G, you can get updated with us as far as, because we post all the time, and we post, some funny graphics, overall. I've been doing this thing where I've been taking our combined top 10 list that we do at the end of each of our last couple top 10 videos, and I put them on the Instagram, and it's a lot of fun. Overall, I still stand by it. Our top 10 best movies of 2020, the most bonkers list we've put together, and it's better than every other top 10 best of out there, because
I'll
I can
just say
guarantee
this.
you no other top 10 list for 2020 had the Babysitter Killer Queen on their top 10 list.
Go and find out. I won't say where it lands, but go and find out where we put it. You'll be surprised.
And with that being said, from Chris, from Matt, from Eric, again, I'm so glad that I actually know your real name now. From myself, COVID inflicted it all, but it's not going to stop me from giving you people the content that you deserve. Watch more fucking movies and TV, and we out. We'll see you guys next time.